Good morning.
It's 10 o'clock, so the first committee meeting will give us an update on the BRT update. And is Shelley Pearl and Marcus Arnold here this morning? Great. Come forward if you would, please, and we're glad to have you giving us an update on the BRT planning and update.
Thank you so much. Yes. Good morning, Chairman Bowen and Board Chair Brown, Commissioner McMurray, board members. I'm Shelley Peart. I'm the Assistant General Manager of MARTA's Planning and Project Development Department. With me today, I have a few colleagues. Mr. Marcus Arnold, he's our Director of Federal Corridors and Hubs. His office manages the day-to-day operations on the project, really, of the I-285 top-end corridor. I also have with me Mr. Tim Sorensen and Daryl Howard from our consulting firm, CDM Smith, and they'll be here to answer questions after we give a presentation. I'm just going to take a few minutes just to say, first of all, on behalf of our General Manager, colleague Greenwood, we are pleased to provide an update on the status. I'm going to be very brief with my overview because I'm going to have Mr. Arnold go into more detail about where we are and what we've been doing with the project. I'm pretty sure that most of you are aware of what the project is, but I just want to give just a quick update on where we are and why we're here. So this project is kind of the end product of a study that was started in 2018 by 7 mayors in the top end corridor. They were looking at ways to potentially operate transit within or alongside I-285 and trying to partner with you all on the MMIP project. From that, in 2020, MARTA began working with DeKalb County to further identify other stations and concepts, what they would look like, so that we'd be ready to partner when you went out for your RFP for your P3 project. So where have we gone since then? We, of course, in 2022 signed the Memorandum of Agreement between MARTA and ATL. Since then, we brought on our consultant, CDM Smith, in 2023. We've established technical and policy working groups and have been meeting with them since then. We've also partnered with most of the counties and cities and CIDs along the corridor. And of course, we've partnered with you guys as well, the staff from GDOT. We have identified our goals for the project. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's supposed to be switching along. Are we queued up? Sorry. Okay, my apologies. So where are we right now? We've identified project goals. Basically, we're trying to maximize the work that GDOT is going to be doing on the express lanes and maximize on that investment. We are trying to provide equitable access to all and enhancing the regional connectivity along the top end corridor. We've completed several reports, but one of the main ones that we have done is we've completed our existing technical memorandum. And from that, we found that what the analysis showed us is that we needed to highlight the importance of prioritizing the needs of essential workers and also the transit-dependent population. And that's something that's been with us throughout the year that we've been kind of looking at the analysis and looking at the details of who needs to utilize this transit that we're trying to implement along the corridor. We have since also then launched a project website. It's I-285expresslane.transit.com. I'm not sure if it's in here. Oh, I think I'm just going over a couple of highlights, but we'll see more details as we go along. We're also identifying and developing station locations, the concepts for those stations, and we're also preparing for station design workshops that would be held with stakeholders and the general public. Basically, in short, we're continuing to advance the planning study to the conclusion of creating a 15% concept design that will be hopefully integrated into the GDOT I-285 East and West End top end express lanes project. And with that, I'm going to now ask Mr. Arnold to give you a little bit more detail about what we've done, and we'll be here for questions afterwards. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Shelley, and good morning. Good morning to the board committee, chair, as well as commissioner. It's a pleasure to be here to give you all an update as well on a little bit more details of the study and where what we've completed and what we have underway so far. As you can see, this map shows the potential stations that we are looking at. And so what we've already started to do is take work that was done in previous studies to really dive deeper into those station locations. Does it make sense where they're at currently? Is there opportunities for shifting stations and working with the local jurisdictions to identify their plans as well? So we've identified what we call anchor stations, or areas where there are already either a MARTA rail station or other regional transit connections. And so those we feel like are pretty much areas we feel pretty certain about, but the other ones we definitely want to continue to take time to analyze those as well as we proceed forward. And so our approach on this study has been looking at service planning along the corridor, and not just looking at stations and how do you operate between each station, but really what are the needs for transit along the I-285 corridor? What are some opportunities for better connectivity as you look at it from a regional level as well? So we really wanted to use that as a basis of really understanding and influencing the decisions as it relates to the specific station locations as well as access needs for the transit onto the managed lanes. So we've identified three service planning approaches. One is the stop-to-stop service, so essentially, running the transit service from one end to another, stopping at each stop. But also, too, we're starting to identify how do we better serve essential riders as well as the commuter market. And so there's, definite needs across different transit users as well. So we really want to understand how do we best connect those to ride the system and increase the ridership. We also are looking at, when we're looking at station locations, also, our stations, does it make sense to have stations directly online on 285? Is there opportunities to veer offline where there may be a better connection to a rail station as well as a key employment center? So we're looking at both inline, offline, and also a circulator concept. And this is essentially an example of, there may be a major employment center such as Perimeter Center that has multiple employment centers, and does it make sense to provide even more connectivity for those users, not having to get off the vehicle and then transfer to another service or walk a long distance as well? So we're looking at all those options. This next slide, what we've done is we've looked at the transit demand along the corridor. And so we looked at it from both the going from eastbound and westbound perspective. This one is showing, what we anticipate users, how they would use the service along the corridor. And primarily, most users that we're seeing would likely get off at or before a Perimeter Center. And so you can see in this graphic, 86% would likely get off at Perimeter Center, while 90% of the ridership would get off at Cumberland. So we really want to understand the travel patterns along the corridor, both from an east and westbound perspective. And so similar on the eastbound from H.E. Holmes, majority of riders getting off at Perimeter Center, and most riders getting off by Doraville. So we do see that, there may not be a need for service all the way across the top end as one route. There may be a combination of routes and things to best serve the ridership. This next slide provides what we call the essential riders and where they're located. So we've done some analysis to really understand transit-dependent access as well as what we call cost burden, or folks who depend on transit. And as you can see along the corridor, it's scattered throughout the corridor. And really what this tells us is how do we best connect people to jobs? And so this is one key data point that we've looked at. Scenario development. So we are taking these concepts and we will be developing kind of a hybrid approach to scenarios to evaluate and develop a draft service plan. And so we are in the process of starting to look at concepts that we'll cover in just a second. So we have started developing station concepts for primarily the stations that are more on the upper end of 285, understanding that we still will be developing concepts throughout the whole corridor as well. So these are just some of our initial concept designs that we've already began developing and coordinating with local jurisdictions to get feedback as well. Next couple of slides are just a few concepts. So what we wanted to do is just kind of share what we're starting to look at, in many cases, we are looking at both inline options, offline, as well as circulator options. And so Indian Creek and Perimeter Center are just a couple options where we've identified, what the routing may look like, where the stations may potentially be located, and again, trying to get as much feedback and input from the jurisdictions on those locations. Similar doorbell station as well. And so this example, we've identified both a kind of inline option as well as a offline option to directly connect to the MARTA doorbell station as well. So we are really in the earlier stages of just starting to identify these concepts and getting feedback as well. So this is our schedule. We are currently in the phase of community engagement. We're starting to kick off our community engagement activities right now, really wanting to get some further input from the stakeholders as well as the public on the project, some of the needs, as well as we start to develop concepts. We also are coordinating with a supplemental land use study that is being led by the city of Brookhaven, looking at land use and how do you coordinate with a lot of the local jurisdictions, comprehensive plans and zoning along where the station locations are as well. So we definitely want to use that because that's going to be key as far as where the station locations are and, how do you best serve the station areas and develop the station areas surrounding them. And this is just kind of a next step, some key steps after the study is completed next year. And so we've already started to identify some of those. We would want to advance a locally preferred alternative as the next step once the study is completed. Also to working with the cities to adopt the land use recommendations. Also to, there will be a continued timeline to coordinate with GDOT and the other partners to really start to advance other pieces of the study and implementation phases as well. So we understand this is more of a, a longer term vision for the corridor. And so definitely there will be continued activity to continue to advance the project as well as funding is identified, environmental analysis is conducted, and so forth. This is just a summary of work completed to date. So we have, as Shelley mentioned, we have done quite a bit on the existing condition side. Also to have developed some draft concepts as we discussed, public outreach, and we've launched our website recently as well. So a lot of information regarding the project as well as doing some additional analysis. Some upcoming activities, we'll be coordinating with GDOT and the top-end public hearing open houses coming up very soon to provide information on the study and coordination with that. Also to continuing outreach efforts, station concepts, and just continue to coordinate as we further develop alternatives as well. So with that, that's the conclusion of my presentation, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Marcus. Is any questions so far? All right.
Thank you. It was a great presentation. I was wondering, I'm assuming there's going to be a considerable amount of right-of-way to be purchased when this is done. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's one of the areas, once we really identify the locations, we will be looking at right-of-way needs. And so as we get further into really defining where the station locations are, we will be identifying that and what we'll take to, site a station at a certain location as well.
And once these are done, obviously, I would think that would create business activity, different types of businesses, commercial or residential or whatever. And the zoning has got to be in place to be able to handle that. So I'm sure those are just questions I'm asking that I'm sure you all understand and have already looked into.
We do understand, and thank you for that question. It's a really good one. And that's what Marcus mentioned, that we're actually working on land use studies. Kimberly Horn is kind of leading that effort with Brookhaven right now, and we're going to be integrating all of that into our project as well. Because even though we'll work on identifying stations and have scenarios, if we don't have the land use in place, then we won't be able to really move or do anything. And we're hoping that the jurisdictions will also play their part in securing the needed right-of-way by way of zoning for the future project.
And utilities also.
Yes, and utilities as well, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One, I want to thank Shelley for being here and Marcus. They're missing a MARTA Board Committee day. Theirs going on at the same time, so thank you all for being here and sharing this information. And I just want to go back to, remind the board, last month you approved us moving forward with the 285 procurement. So thank you all for that action last month. And then CERTA board did the same just about 2 weeks ago now to approve us getting underway. And as you saw Marcus's slide of the time continuum, these are two processes running commensurate with each other and integrated together. And it's vitally critical that we integrate transit into our mobility options that we provide for Metro Atlanta, not for today, but for the future as well. So this is a great linkage. And the one thing is, as Jamie, as you talked about, land use and what have you, the one thing that is common among all the municipalities around 285 is this. They all support it. It's amazing to see the support that we have. And this MOU that created this work, again, it's historic to have DeKalb, Fulton, MARTA, GDOT, ATL, ARC, Cobb, and Gwinnett all agree that this is work that needs to be done as we do express lanes. It's pretty historic and unprecedented among agreements. So the work that MARTA is doing in concert with the ATL and then ultimately integrating with GDOT becomes very important. And one of the things in Marcus' slide, he showed Indian Creek Station, which has already got a lot of residential mixed use going on, but with the MARTA plan as well, doing transit-oriented development. So sort of to your question is we believe that the future is some transit-oriented developments in and around these locations if they happen to be in line or just adjacent. But as they showed as well, is some of it will be able just to get out the express lane and go to the MARTA station, like Dunwoody. The slide showed you can get to a Dunwoody station, which is a very busy station. And so it's just connecting the dots, and the work that they're doing, again, for employment centers where people are and where they work and where they ride to is really just foundationally important. And to me, it's revealing things that we did not know, but makes a lot of sense. Here's the workforce, and here's where they're going. How do we get that connected together? And again, using the express lanes as the backbone of having a corridor that BRT is not stuck in traffic. So it's really a good outcome to provide reliable, dependable trips moving forward. So I can't say enough. I'm excited. Y'all probably can tell that, but so a lot of work to be done going ahead. But just thanks to MARTA and the team and for what you're doing and working closely with our team at GDOT. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you indulging me there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
Can I add one thing, Mr. Bowen? I want to also say thank you to the Commissioner and his staff. His team has been wonderful working with them. I think, we're not trying to slow you guys down, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we can catch up to where you are. But it's as the Commissioner said, we're very excited as well that GDOT has been so open and available to us, and just looking forward to getting this done. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Again, we thank you for being here this morning, Shelley and Marcus, and continue to work together and to keep all these projects moving in the right direction. And the outlook is great. So that's the good part.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. No more business. We stand adjourned.
All right. Program Delivery Committee, call to order. We've got two presentations to hear today. The first is going to be by Albert Shelby regarding local administered projects program update. So Albert, go ahead.
All right. Well, good morning, Chairman, board members, Commissioner. Again, my name is Albert Shelby. I'm the Director of Program Delivery. And today I'll be providing a brief overview of the department's locally administered projects program. Yeah. Oh, they got them back? That's fine. I'll just advance and we'll get back to Charles's right after.
Preview of coming attractions.
That's right. All right, so, this program is actually managed by the Office of Program Control, which is one of my offices, and the GDOT's LAP coordinator, his name is Malik Al-Kush, and the LAP program management consultant, Jacobs. In addition, the program is assisted in various capacities by the Office of Program Delivery, district personnel, and GDOT subject matter expert offices, as well as FHWA. The purpose of the LAP program is to assist local government agencies in achieving successful project delivery that meets all of the state and federal requirements. It establishes uniform practices for authorizing qualified local public agencies to manage core activities for federally funded projects. Under Title 23 U.S. Code, the State Transportation Agency is responsible for the administration of federal aid transportation projects. Title 23 U.S. Code does not recognize local entities as direct recipients of federal funds. As a result, GDOT assumes the responsibilities for all federal aid projects and provides oversight and reimbursement to local government entities. There are 5 key elements of the LAP program: training, certification, audits, support services, and review of guidance materials like the LAP manual. First, the LAP trainings are the foundation of the program, and thus the foundation of successful project delivery by local public entities. The LAP training workshops are 2 days of information sharing with the most current procedures, requirements, and standards in the project delivery subjects provided by the GDOT subject matter experts. Before 2020 and COVID, these training workshops were provided in person and required attendees to travel from various parts of the state to come to the classes that we held. Now the workshops are fully virtual via Microsoft Teams, held 5 times a year, as you can see on the screen. An estimated 325 local government agency representatives, consultants, and GDOT staff attend these workshops each year. Attendees are tested and scored on a pass-fail basis. The second element is certification. In addition to passing the LAP training, local government agencies are required to take additional training in right-of-way, Title VI, procurement, and the plan development process. Locals that apply for certification are reviewed and approved by the committee of subject matter experts called the Local Administered Project Certification Committee. Once approved, certification lasts 3 years until recertification is required. 81 local public agencies are currently certified. The third element is audits for compliance. Once the local agency is certified, they are eligible for reimbursement of federal funding and begin the project development process. They are required to set up and maintain project files that include all of the information learned in the LAP training to remain in compliance with federal and state requirements. These project files are subject to audits by Federal Highway as well as GDOT. GDOT audits a minimum of 25 projects per year, reviewing compliance with pay scales, Buy America provisions, DBE programs, adherence, and environmental compliance, to name a few. Local agencies are scored on these audits. GDOT project managers and GDOT and district staff are available to assist them in achieving compliance with all the areas for a successful audit. The fourth element is support services. The program includes supporting resources like the LAP manual that includes all of the information provided in our workshop, the LAP web pages that house most of the forms, documents, and other information local agencies need for successful project delivery. But there's no substitute for in-person contact and advice, as mentioned earlier. There are district staff available to address questions and concerns that the locals may have. Program delivery project managers are also assigned to assist and provide project delivery support. The fifth element is our ongoing review of the other 4 elements to help ensure local project delivery success. This slide shows examples of the type of data produced to measure and track success of the program. The top left is a snapshot of the January 2024 LAP workshop. 99% of the attendees passed the test and achieved an average score of 96 out of 100. This chart to the right tracks total attendance over the year since 2020 and shows 158 individuals have attended LAP workshops already this year. This chart on the bottom shows attendees by group, whether they are consultants, GDOT staff, or local public entities. These graphs track the number of certifications and recertifications issued in FY 2023. There were a total of 79 certifications issued to local public agencies, including 26 recertifications. The bottom graphic shows the number of audits performed by district staff in 2023. As mentioned earlier, the goal is 25 audits statewide. In 23, we performed 29. The list of certified local agencies can be found on our website under the Local Government tab as shown on this slide. So all of this culminates in successful local project delivery. In the last 3 years, there have been an average of 19 locally led projects valued at an average of $72 million, on top of all the PE and right-of-way that the locals have also performed for projects that were GDOT lets. Given the number shown in this slide, we can see that the work done in the cities, counties, and MPO areas through all of this, our districts, is key to achieving the department's overall project delivery goals. More importantly, with each and every local project delivered, access and mobility throughout the state is expanded with new and improved commercial, leisure, and commuter travel options. The LAP team is working on streamlining the LAP application process to make it all web-based via a program called the Local Administered Project and Program Sites, or LAPS. When it's rolled out, it will reduce subject matter expert and LAP committee reviews of applications to 5 days and full review and application approval to 30 days or less. Without this program, the process has been taking between 3 and 6 months for most applications. The process involves 3 tiers of review of the local agency's documentation, starting with the district coordinator, then the LAP program manager, and then the LAP certification committee. Very often during these reviews, revisions or additional documentation is required from the local agency. Clearly, it's time for a more efficient way to do this. So we're working on this, launching this LAPS program to make us more efficient. The LAPS and its user guide are in the final stages of development, and we expect to launch it with IT this summer. The LAP manual and website are always under construction, with frequent updates that provide the most current information and resources to the local government agencies. We try to feed them as much current information as possible to make sure they're as successful as possible. So in closing, the LAP team recognizes the importance of the program and our role in GDOT's statewide local public agency project delivery success. The team will continue to seek input from the program from our local partners, make improvements to the program as needed, work internally as a department to convey the most current information available, and commit to assisting local agencies with technical project delivery concerns when they arise. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Albert. Does anyone have any questions? You did an incredible job explaining. No one has any questions.
Good deal. Thank you so much.
All right.
This slide back.
So our next presentation come from Charles Robinson regarding State Route 92 and a corridor overview. So Mr. Robinson, take it away.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner, members of the board. I'm delighted today to present to you an update on the State Route 92 corridor improvements. This presentation is being provided as an update to the last State Route 92 presentation presented to the board in September of 2018. The overall need and purpose of the State Route 92 projects are primarily to improve congestion and reduce crash frequency and severity while accommodating future growth and development in the region. This also includes freight mobility. The yellow highlighted line on the screen shows the entire State Route 92 corridor, which extends from the city of Griffin to the city of Roswell for a length of approximately 100 miles. The corridor begins at the intersection between West McIntosh Road and North Expressway, which is US 19, US 41, and State Route 3 on the north side of Griffin. The corridor continues around the west side of the metro Atlanta area through Fayetteville, Fairburn, Douglasville, Hiram, Ackworth, Woodstock, and into Roswell, where it terminates at an intersection with State Route 9 and State Route 120, which is Alpharetta Highway, and State Route 140, which is Holcomb Bridge Road. State Route 92 traverses through Spalding, Fayette, Douglas, Paulding, Cobb, Cherokee, and Fulton counties. There were several locations along the corridor that were already widened to 4 or 6 lane sections prior to the September 2018 board presentation. My presentation today will highlight the projects that have been open to traffic along the State Route 92 corridor since the 2018 presentation, as well as active projects in the pre-construction phase or projects that are currently under construction. It should be noted that the widening projects that were identified for improvements were primarily based upon existing and future traffic growths, and there are still some sections of State Route 92 that remain 2-lane sections. This slide shows the specific projects that have been open to traffic since this 2018 board presentation. The first 3 are the State Route 92 projects within the city of Douglasville that were led to construction together. The next 2 projects listed were the widening projects in the city of Ackworth, and the last project listed in the table is the intersection improvement project in the city of Roswell. The pictures shown now are from the State Route 92 project in the city of Douglasville. Overall, the project was completed in 3 phases and extended from Pine Drive, just south of I-20, north to Malone Road for a total of approximately 3 miles. The pictures show a view during and after construction looking north along State Route 92, which is Dallas Highway in this area, at the underpass of US 78, Norfolk Southern Railroad Bridge, and Strickland Street, which included 3 separate bridge crossings. The project added a new location, State Route 92 roadway section, beginning at State Route 92 and Durley Lane, which extended north to Malone Road, and provides a bypass to downtown Douglasville. The project involved complex staging for traffic, including the need for blasting of rock for the new underpass. Extensive railroad coordination was required during construction while the Norfolk Southern Rail Line remained active. The project includes the installation of a multi-use path and various lighting enhancements such as those beneath the State Route 92 bridge across I-20. The total project cost was approximately $150 million. The pictures shown now are from the State Route 92 project in the city of Ackworth, with a total length of approximately 3 miles. On this slide, on the top left picture, you can see the old State Route 92 bridge on the left and the new State Route 92 bridge to the right of that bridge over Lake Ackworth with the adjoining roadway. The new bridge to the right spans approximately 1,500 feet on new location. The old bridge and State Route 92 roadway across the lake required transferring the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers right-of-way easements to the city of Ackworth for park use, since this section of the corridor was on the U.S. Corps property. Extensive coordination was required between GDOT and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on this project before and during construction. The old bridge to the left functions as a pedestrian and non-motorized vehicle path. The picture on the bottom right shows the State Route 92 bridge crossing over CSX Railroad at Main Street, which also required an extensive amount of coordination both before and during construction with CSX. The widened State Route 92 corridor also includes a multi-use path, and the total project cost was approximately $86 million. This photo shows a post-construction picture of the State Route 92 at Bowen Road Operational Intersection Improvement Project. This project extended the westbound left turn lane on State Route 92 and added a right turn lane on the northbound approach on Bowen Road. The total cost was approximately $740,000. This slide concludes the part of the presentation highlighting projects to the State Route 92 highlighting projects to the State Route 92 update since the 2018 presentation that have been open to traffic. The remaining presentation will highlight State Route 92 projects that are either under construction or in the pre-construction phase within the metro Atlanta area. I will discuss the 10 projects identified on this slide in greater detail. Here's a list of those 10 projects which are located in GDOT Districts 6 and 7 and Congressional Districts 11, 13, and 14. The projects collectively reflect a total cost of approximately $500 million, which include all phases such as preliminary engineering, right-of-way, construction, and utility costs. These projects vary between corridor wideness of 4 or 6-lane sections and intersection improvement projects. The traffic cone icons on the right of the slide denote the projects that will be discussed that are currently under construction, and the remainder of the projects are in the pre-construction phase. The following project updates are intended to walk you through the State Route 92 corridor traveling south to north. The first project is an intersection improvement project in the pre-construction phase of State Route 92 at Campbellton Fairburn Road and State Route 14 alternate, which is South Fulton Parkway. This project is justified by the need to address congestion, safety, and operational issues. These improvements will address the major performance goal of reducing crashes with the secondary benefit of addressing capacity issues. Layout of this intersection. The preferred alternative is a displaced left turn, also known as a continuous flow intersection. This project also includes the addition of a multi-lane roundabout at State Route 92 and Hall Road, just north of the intersection of State Route 92 and State Route 14. This project is in the preliminary design phase and expected to begin right-of-way acquisition in fiscal year 2028 with construction in 2030. The estimated cost for this project is currently $23 million. The next project, traveling approximately 3 miles north of the previous intersection, is State Route 92 at Butner Road, which is proposed as a single-lane roundabout and in the pre-construction phase. This project is located in the city of South Fulton in Fulton County, which is approximately 12 miles south of Douglasville. This slide shows a more detailed layout of the proposed roundabout. This project will reduce crash frequency and severity while improving operational efficiency at the intersection. This project is currently in the final design phase and right-of-way acquisition is underway. The project is proposed to be led to construction in spring of 2025, and the total estimated cost is $6.5 million. The next project is State Route 92 from Malone Road to Nebo Road, which is north of I-20 in Douglas and Paulding counties, and is currently under construction. This project continues the widening of State Route 92, starting after the realignment construction project widening in the city of Douglasville that was discussed earlier. This project actually includes a 4-lane and 6-lane widening section. Malone Road to Bill Caruth Parkway reflects the 6-lane section, and Bill Caruth Parkway to Nebo Road reflects the 4-lane section. This project is approximately 7 miles and includes varying shoulders of 6.5-foot widths with 4-foot bike lanes and 10 and/or 5-foot sidewalks. The current construction is 88% complete with an expected completion date in August of 2024, and the total cost for this project was $96 million. This slide shows recent photos of the corridor. The top left picture shows the widening of State Route 92 north of Malone Road in Douglas County. The picture in the center on the right shows the State Route 92 bridge over Gothard's Creek, and the bottom left picture shows State Route 92 at Sweetwater Church Road, both in Paulding County. These pictures collectively highlight the great progress being made by the construction team on this project. The next project picks up at Nebo Road, which is where we just left off, and extends to Hiram Park Drive for approximately 2 miles and is currently in the pre-construction phase. The existing bridges over Southern Railroad and the Silver Comet Trail will be replaced. This project also includes the addition of a multi-use path. This layout reflects a section of the proposed widening at State Route 92 near downtown Hiram and just south of where the Silver Comet Trail crosses State Route 92. The project is currently in the final design phase and right-of-way acquisition is underway. Construction is currently proposed for fiscal year 2028, and the total cost is approximately $131 million. The next project picks up at Hiram Park Drive and extends north across US 278 and crosses State Route 360, which is Macklin Road, to Maxwell Road for approximately 2 miles. This layout reflects the proposed intersection design at State Route 92 and US 78, which is a major intersection along the corridor. This project is currently in the final design phase. Right-of-way acquisition is currently underway, and construction is proposed for fiscal year 2027. This project also includes a multi-use path, and the total estimated cost is $24 million. The next project picks up at Maxwell Road and extends north to East Paulding Middle School across State Route 120, which is Charles Hardy Parkway at this location, for approximately 1 mile. This layout reflects the proposed intersection design at State Route 92 and State Route 120, which is a major intersection within the corridor. This project is currently in the final design phase. Right-of-way acquisition is underway, and construction is proposed for fiscal year 2026. This project includes a multi-use path, and the total cost is approximately $20 million. This project continues north from East Paulding Middle School to Due West Road in Cobb and Paulding counties with a proposed length of approximately 6 miles. This layout reflects the proposed widening and the intersection of State Route 92 and East Paulding Drive, which is an intersection within the project limits. This project is currently in the preliminary design phase, and right-of-way acquisition is expected to begin this summer of 2024, mid to late. Construction is currently proposed for fiscal year 2027, and the total cost is approximately $65 million. This project continues north from Due West Road to Old Burnt Hickory Road in Paulding County with a proposed project length of approximately 2 miles. This layout reflects the proposed dual roundabouts located at State Route 92 and Due West Road, located within the corridor project limits. This project is currently in the preliminary design phase, and right-of-way acquisition is expected to begin mid to late summer 2024. Construction is proposed for fiscal year 2028, and this project includes a multi-use path. The total cost is approximately $42 million. Now back to a project that's under construction, continuing north along the State Route 92 corridor. This project extends from Burnt Hickory Road to Pickett's Mill Place, and with an approximate length of 2.5 miles. Construction is 28% complete with an expected completion date in May of 2026. This project also includes a multi-use path and a total cost of about $44 million. On this slide, the top left picture shows the clearing taking place for the widening on State Route 92 at Cedar Crest Road. The picture in the bottom right shows the clearing taking place along State Route 92 in front of Roland Russell Elementary School, both locations within Paulding County. The total project cost is approximately $44 million. This project proposed to widen and reconstruct State Route 92, which is Dallas-Ackworth Highway in this area, from Pickett's Mill Place to State Route 3, US 41, for approximately 2 miles. This project was led to construction with the previous project, the State Route 92 from Old Burnt Hickory and Pickett's Mill Place, and therefore has the same 28% completion date, or completion percent for construction, and completion date of May of 2026. This project continues the multi-use path, and the estimated cost is $42 million. On this slide, the top left picture shows the clearing taking place for the widening on State Route 92 in front of Allatoona High School. The picture in the bottom right shows the clearing taking place along State Route 92 as it approaches US 41 and State Route 3, both locations within Cobb County. So as you can see, GDOT has a lot of projects in construction or in the pipeline along State Route 92. The delivery of these projects require a significant amount of project coordination amongst the team members as well as stakeholders and the public. GDOT remains committed to delivering the remaining projects in the pre-construction and construction phases in the most efficient manner possible. These projects will significantly improve capacity and mobility as well as safety in the various regions. These projects will facilitate more efficient traffic operations and movements for automobiles, trucks, trains, bikes, and pedestrians. I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'm now happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson, for that detailed explanation. Anybody on the board or committee, Mr. Boswell has a question.
I'm assuming the entire project's gonna be 4-lane, when it's ended, is that correct?
So, great question. Yeah, right now, it was really driven by its future growth. So the projects that are programmed now are not in the entire corridor for widening. There are still sections that remain too, but the majority of the corridor will be the 4 or 6 lane.
But eventually they all will, or is that yet to be determined?
My understanding is that that's yet to be determined.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Here, Jim.
Oh, Mr. Bradley.
Well,
I figured you might have a question.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Charles, thank you so much. It's a wonderful report. I can, on behalf of everybody in Douglas and Paulding County, I probably share sentiments with my colleague, Ms. Lemon. This is an exciting project for us. Several of these sections is how I travel to and from, and it is with great ease now that we're able to do that. So thank you so much for the progress. We're excited about the completion of this project and appreciate all your help.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And thanks to the team that's doing it. I also traveled the corridor a few weeks ago, and I concur.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else with a question?
Mr. Chairman? I
Go
just,
ahead, Commissioner.
thank you. I just want to recognize Dana. She gets a gold star for the Douglasville project. It endured longer than anybody wanted to, and it was extremely, as Charles talked about it, extremely complicated project, even to pick up a railroad, move it over, and then tunnel under it. There's no easy feat while the trains are still running. In the middle of downtown. So, I can tell you that Dana visited with Congressman Scott more than she probably wanted to, and the mayor and council folks. And I certainly appreciate her support with the district to get that one finally done. And again, appreciate Charles's presentation. We wanted to show you the whole puzzle, if you will, because monthly you approve projects to move ahead of, and I report on projects that get finished. But when you start seeing the sheer dollar volume of what it takes to build all these miles of new capacity and multi-use trails and bike paths, I mean, we're really trying to get it right for the community. But it's pretty impressive when you put it all together and see it, and how much of it's ongoing, even though you may not see physical construction now. Right-of-ways being bought, plans are being made to get that very much western connection around the city completed. So thank you, Charles, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me share that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is anyone else? Well, I certainly want to add my gratitude to the department for this. My district and I personally am affected by at least that northern part of 92. I travel on it a good bit, so I'm excited to see this come about. And I think I counted at least 4 roundabouts that you presented on there. There could be more, but beyond that, are there more roundabouts planned along that? I think you mentioned a 100-mile corridor.
Right now, the ones that we discussed, those are the ones that we know of. Now, there is what is it? An intersection improvement that Cherokee County is working on at Trickham Road. Yeah, that's a separate one. It's looking at a high T, which is another alternative type of intersection with a regular signal control. But right now, every location, we have our intersection control evaluation where we do a detailed analysis to see what's the best fit. So, those intersection improvement projects that were separate, those were needed due to operational efficiencies or safety. And then there are some within those corridors.
Thank you. I'd be curious to know, you don't have to answer this now, but I'd like to know along this corridor how many existing or planned roundabouts there are versus signalized intersections along the way. I'd be curious to know what that looks like.
Okay, I can do that information, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jeff,
Yes, Ms. Lemon.
I do want to take a moment to say thank you to Paul Denard and his staff. Every time I had to drive that distance to go to Douglasville, they were more than willing to join me, and we did meet out there quite a bit during these last, 10 years, 7 years, however long this project lasted. And he and his staff were always very accommodating, providing information and updates, and agreeing to meet with whomever. We met with more community leaders than I think I've met with in my entire 20 years of being on this board, but they were very engaged. And when they asked us to come, we came and we gave them updates as frequently as they wanted to. And Paul and his staff were always very agreeable to come out there and meet with me, so I wouldn't be by myself, talking to the people
Mhm.
about this project.
Absolutely. I know this is a very crowded and congested corridor. It's very challenging work, so my hat's off to you all for all you did. Anyone else? If nothing else, thank you, Mr. Robinson, for this, and this committee stands adjourned.
Mr. Chairman and city members, we now call the committee as a whole to order. And our first order of business is discussion and direction from our Director of Operations, John Hibbard, on the manual on uniform traffic control devices.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee, Commissioner. John Hibbard here from the Operations Division, and I'm here to talk to you today about the manual on uniform traffic control devices, the 11th edition. The graphic before you there shows all 11 of them laid out there. The very first one was developed in the mid-1930s. It was over 100 pages long, thereabouts. The 11th edition, which is there off to the right, weighs in excess of 1,200 pages. Lots changed. Shall, should, and may. Those are the operative words in the MUTCD, as I'm probably going to refer to it going forward. Most everything in there is either part of a shall statement or a should or a may for the less restrictive one. What I'm going to do here in this time with you is discuss what is required of states, and that's a big part of why I'm here today before you all. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the MUTCD itself, you would think. I'm also going to talk about something called the NCUTCD, the National Committee on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. That's a volunteer committee that helps to develop new language that goes into the MUTCD. I'm going to offer some examples to kind of show you the MUTCD in action, how we all experience it every day. A look to the future, and then next steps as it relates to this committee and the board. I thought it best I should start off by saying, what is a traffic control device? So I went to the manual on uniform traffic control devices and offer you this. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, thankfully, but notice the breadth of what it does. All signs, signals, markings, channelizing devices, or other devices that use colors, shapes, symbols, words, sounds, and or tactile information. Covers a lot of ground. And you'll see as I go through this that it touches a lot of what we all experience as we go along the road. As it relates to us and all states, we have until January of 2026 to do one of three things. To either adopt this manual that I've shown you and that I'll show you more on, or to adopt it and a state supplement. California historically has done that. Or to adopt a custom tailored MUTCD just for a given state. Texas has historically been one that's done that. Note that if there is an interest on a state's part in adopting a supplement or a state MUTCD, it must be in substantial conformance as defined by the Federal Highway Administration, which is to say all of the shalls and shoulds that are in the federal document must be in the state document, and neither the supplement or the state document could negate a shall or a should. For Georgia, we're going to propose adopting the national manual itself. So the prior edition that we have worked with was the 2009 manual, and it was released at the end of 2009, and it soldiered on for 11 years, during which time that National Committee on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the NCUTCD, was evaluating research, new concepts, new ideas, developing language, new graphics and figures and such. And at the end of 2020 was published a Notice of Proposed Amendments, an NPA. And I'm going to suggest to you that that was the draft, the draft of this new manual. And that started a 5-month comment period for when anybody could comment on that notice. At the end of that 5 months, the Federal Highway Administration had received some 17,000 submissions, which contained over 100,000 discrete comments. And so with that, they spent the next 2 years and 7 months working to resolve those comments, figure out which ones should be included and perhaps to what extent and perhaps which ones not, and so forth. And so then, at the end of 2023, end of last year, they published the new MUTCD. And we are now in that 2-year window, as I explained a little bit before. That's where we are. So now a little bit more on this national committee thing. It is a very representative body. Going down that left-hand column there before you are all of the various organizations that have a seat at the table, so to speak. The biggest one of that is AASHTO, which is pretty much how we are most likely and best represented. Note that the head of the AASHTO delegation, of that group of people, is our own chief engineer, Meg Perkle. So we are well represented here. All of those people, though, that represent those organizations constitute the council. That's that blue box top center. And that group of people, that council, along with 400 or so of their closest friends, populate those technical committees which run down the right side of this chart. And those parts along the right side, you see where I've added some numbers in circles, and those are the various parts of the manual. They're all numbered. I am on the signals part 4. Parts are like chapters, except they're huge. Signals is comfortably over 100 pages long. And I've been on the signals technical committee now for 25 years. There's plenty of people that have been on it longer than I. So at this point, I could take you on a page-by-page turn through the manual, but hey, as I said, it's over 1,200 pages long, so perhaps we don't do that. Because, I mean, that page right there is just one page of the table of contents. That's all. But some of the pages are kind of, engaging, and you kind of recognize some of the information on it, and can presume what it is in other senses. And then here is one that's showing layout for guide signage along freeways. There's a lot of that in the manual too. But honestly, a lot of the pages look like this. Pretty dense, lots of text. The use of boldface and italics is about the only differentiation on it. But note, as I said earlier, the top arrow there on the left points to a shall statement. The arrow off to the right points to a should statement, and there at the bottom is an option or a may statement. Just to give you a sense that that's what this thing looks like for all 1,200 pages of it. I thought really better than plowing through that would be to show roughly how you see it, how you experience it. This is Peachtree Street, not far from here. All of these lines and circles are pointing at traffic control devices. And the circles represent which part in the manual they're associated with. So you see lots of number 3s. Those are markings, like pavement markings. And you see pedestrian things and bicycle markings, as well as just the center line on the road. Part 4, you see some 4s there. That's signal-related information. And then you see some 2s. The 2s relate to signage. And so that's Peachtree Street, just not a 5-minute walk from here. Now, I'm going to show you, here's another one, and I'm going to do roughly the same thing again. And so you see the 3s again pointing at pavement markings and 4s on signals. I'm able to introduce part 6 here, which is the work zone traffic control, temporary traffic control. But perhaps the notable thing, at least I think, in this picture is that this picture was taken in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, when I was there in late April for the ITS America annual meeting. And it is testimony to the MUTCD and its development and its use that we here in Atlanta are able to look at that picture of Phoenix, Arizona, and really recognize most everything there. And we would know roughly what to do to get ourselves around Phoenix, Arizona, in the far western part of this land. So I think that, as much as anything, shows what the MUTCD does. It ensures that uniformity coast to coast as it relates to traffic control. Good news, I think, is that the MUTCD, the Federal Highway Administration, is looking towards the future. And so there is a new part in the manual, Part 5, Traffic Control Device Considerations for Automated Vehicles. It's a short part, only a few pages long, but it helps to provide some general framing information about automated vehicles and perhaps what matters to them, at least at this point in time. And it provides information for the reader to guide them as where else in the manual they can find the relevant information that is probably most appropriate or most related to automated vehicles. And this is important that we're doing this because, well, when I was in Phoenix in late April, this is what I took to get from the hotel to the airport as I returned home. This is a Waymo automated vehicle. It functions kind of like an Uber does, except that there's no driver in it. And it picked me up at the hotel. That little thing on the top there had my initials on it, and I climbed into it. The music was nice and quiet. It never exceeded the speed limit. It conducted itself reasonably at the traffic signals that it went through. It went on the green and stopped on the red, and made its turns reasonably as well. Has anybody seen cars like that here in Atlanta yet? No? Anybody? Okay, all right. You will be, because they are here in Atlanta. They are not functioning in autonomous driverless mode yet. They're doing the mapping that they have to do to get ready for that, but they're here. And we've had a couple conversations with them, and this area where we are right now is kind of the middle or heart of where they will likely be functioning. So it is good that the manual acknowledges vehicles such as this and the potential that they are, and any unique accommodations which we are already taking into account here in Georgia. So with that, here as this meeting concludes, and then in the board meeting after lunch, I'm going to ask for your favorable consideration on a resolution to adopt this national MUTCD for use here in Georgia. And so at this point, I'll stop. I would welcome any questions that you might have.
Before we go any farther, we'll answer those questions because I think many folks have some thoughts upon that.
Certainly.
Jeff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A quick question on the last point you touched on with, related to automatic cars and the technology. It seems like if I remember before, the technology that is incumbent, already out there, if you will, is a process to get that somewhat approved to be operable or to be in use, something that we as transportation agencies comfortable with. I'm curious to know how new AI technology might be integrated into current technology, and if it requires approval of a governing body, how long that approval may take to incorporate that in, since we may already have some type of, I don't know, prior approval, for lack of a better description, for the current technology, and here comes new technology along, and that's going to change more rapidly. Is this taking account of all that?
Well, to the best extent possible. To a couple different answers to kind of address your question. In Georgia, we do have law on the books, state law, that allow for autonomous vehicles to operate. It is relatively permissive language. In fact, as Waymo is starting to do their preliminary work here, they came to us and discussed and kind of laid out roughly where they are and what steps they are taking and such. And that was quite nice of them, and I very much appreciated their outreach. But frankly, state law did not require that of Waymo. But it's greatly appreciated all the same. The technology that is in use, present in the car you might drive right now, stands to change every year. That's my opinion, but if you were to own a 2024 car and you then went and bought the 2025 one, it is reasonable that the technology that is there to provide assistance to the driver, automated driver assistance system, is that it has been upgraded, improved, enhanced, whether that is additional features or just making the existing features work better. A little bit of both.
Well, thank you, and I guess to the point, that our governing language, if you will, for lack of a better description, is it fluid or flexible enough to accommodate rapid changing technology?
It is, but it does not, our language does not get so specific. And you have to very quickly kind of pivot to the federal government and those requirements, because any vehicles that all of us drive they must meet federal safety and variety of standards, safety, emissions, so forth. Those are all federal standards. And the federal government is continuing to work to figure out how best to respond to a very quick, rapidly changing, dynamic, world of increasing automation in vehicles. You can call it AI all you want, but it's technology that is working to carry us around and move us around in a more automated fashion. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, a question of parliamentary procedure. Since this is the committee of the whole, should we vote on forwarding this resolution to the full committee, which is made up of the committee of the whole? Can we wait and just take it up at the full board meeting this afternoon for a vote?
I believe you can just wait to the board meeting and just take one action.
Okay, then thus, the committee of the whole agrees to that, and we will present it this afternoon. And Mr. Hibbert, if you will be present to bring it forward to us at that time, we would be most appreciative.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
If there's not any further business for the committee of the whole, we stand adjourned until our afternoon board meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, we've got one more here. We got, we have, Mr. Higley that will come forward and give us an update on communications. And thank you, Scott. I knew that was there, but I had written too much on my page.
And you had me thinking I was off the hook for a second. Thank you, Ms. Purcell. Members of the board, Commissioner, so happy to be here this morning. It is always a pleasure and a real source of pride to stand before you and provide an update on the work of the Office of Strategic Communications here at GDOT. I've been on the job here going on 8 years, and I must tell you that time flies. It goes by very, very quickly, and it never gets boring, as you can imagine, in communications, far from it. I think one of the reasons that I love the job so much, and I'm still so amazed by the quality of the work that gets done by this department, and I know you all share that with me. I'm amazed by the sheer scope of the work that's accomplished across the state and by the positive impact that we're having. And what's great, and my team shares this, by the way, and the best part of that is that me and my team get to tell these stories. We get to be the conduit between the internal workings of the department and all the work that's going out on our transportation infrastructure and the public that we serve. So we get to know things. We get to share all this information. It's very gratifying to do. It's a real privilege, and it can be a challenge, and I'll talk about both of those. But it's one that we rise to, and we're honored to do so. I like to start off these conversations by giving you a quick glimpse of the faces of GDOT Communications. And this is a great group of really highly talented and dedicated folks that come from all backgrounds, all walks of life. We've all come together on this mission, and our mission is to do the best jobs we can for GDOT and for the people of Georgia. You will rarely see these people together in one place. They're deployed all across the state. We have a few members of the team here in the audience today with me. Our district communications officers are also pictured here too. They're an integral part of our communications team, and some of you I know are very familiar with our DCOs. You work very closely with them in the districts. But regardless of where we're assigned or the specific work we're doing, we're all here to serve. We're happy to share the strategies and tactics of how we do what we do. And in short, basically, we work really hard to reach the people of Georgia with the most reliable transportation news and updates. If not us, then who, right? So we do that in a number of ways, and I'll share a lot of those ways with you today. But first, before we can reach the people, we have to get their attention, and then we have to hold on to it, right? And so we have to ask ourselves in that process some questions. Do they trust us? Do they believe us? If the answer is no to either one of those, then we really have our work cut out for us, right? We have to work that much harder. We have to understand what their expectations are of us as an agency and as an Office of Communications. And I'll tell you, this is a big challenge, and I'll tell you why. There are so many communications channels today. There are so many different ways and so many means to reach people and get information to people. It can be really overwhelming. So part of our challenge is we have to cut through that noise to reach people. We are inundated as Americans and as human beings. We're just absolutely inundated with information, and I'm sure you all share that with me. Americans, this is according to Forbes.com, Americans see around 4,000 ads and messages every single day. And when I'm inundated with alerts and updates on my two phones and my tablet and my laptop computer and all the information we get from traditional news channels, I understand that's probably the case, and it can be really overwhelming, and it's hard to retain information, too, in that way. So the question becomes, as a state agency, as a government entity, how can we cut through that noise? How can we get to the people that we serve and share all this important information with them? And there's all kinds of information that we put together and we need to get. How do we compete? That's a big part of our strategy, and we'll talk a little about this. So back in the old days, 40, 50, 60 years ago, it had to be a lot easier then. And I'm actually old enough that I remember when there were just a few main channels of communication, right? We had print publications, we had newspapers, magazines, we had radio, we had the telephone, of course, where people would share information one-on-one or even a party line in those days. And then later on, TV entered the mix, and TV news broadcasts started. You know, the first TV news broadcasts were just 5 minutes long. And then they were expanded to 15 minutes in the 50s, and then they became 30 minutes. Well, now we know we have multiple 24-hour news networks, right? And so things have changed a lot. And here's how it is today. In addition to all of those other channels, now we have multiple electronic devices that are constantly serving us information. And we use them to access information as well. We scroll the web on our phones. We scroll traditional TV screens. We have myriad choices for streaming entertainment now. There's just all kinds of options. But these mobile devices, these cursed, blessed little things, they're the first things we pick up in the morning and the last thing we put down at night. It's interesting. We choose this, right? I mean, we think we can't live without these devices. And that's probably true in these days that we live in. And it's true of all of us here. But part of being successful in communications for an organization like GDOT is understanding the landscape of our audience, their needs, their expectations, and how they want to receive information. And it's really not that difficult. It can be challenging, but it's not difficult. And there's a very simple formula that we follow. So this is kind of what it comes down to. We strive to be consistent. We strive to be transparent at all times. Obviously, we want to be a reliable source of information, and we want that information to be accurate. If we're accomplishing those four things, you know what happens? It builds trust among the people that we serve, and that's really what we strive for. We want to build that level of trust so they will come to us for this important transportation information and news, and we can reach them. And our customers won't always come to us directly, but we want them to, right? We want them to come to our channels and follow our information. So we create content that's compelling, useful, and accurate, and we provide it to them, and we do it in a lot of different ways. And we're always mindful of one thing. We must look and sound and act like the professional, service-oriented, streamlined, customer-focused organization that we are. And the GDOT brand is really key. So what is a brand? A brand is a lot of different things to everybody. It's really just the sum total of how our customers perceive us. What do they think of us? And that can actually vary from person to person, right? We can't decide what our brand is, but we can help shape it. And a lot of people think a brand is what you see in front of you. A lot of people think a brand is a logo, right? It's not just the logo, but a visual identity system is an important part of a brand. And looking like the professional organization that we are is really very important. You look to the work of a lot of private sector organizations. They pay a lot of attention to their branding. Well, so does GDOT. We're a public sector organization, but it's very important to us. Consistency and adherence to these brand standards are everything, and you can see this on everything that's produced by this department. Even the slides you're looking at today are branded in the now very familiar GDOT space blue and pine green colors in the GDOT logo, which, by the way, now is we've worked with the legal office to trademark that logo, so no one can ever take and co-opt and use our visual imagery, but us. So I'm going to challenge you for a second here. We work really hard to position GDOT as not just a transportation agency, but as the most trusted source of transportation information in the state of Georgia. So think of us a little differently this morning, if you would. Yes, we are a transportation agency, but we're also a news organization. There is a tremendous amount of content that we create and put out here, and my team serves as the reporters and editors that puts that information together, packages it up, and puts it out, just like any other news organization. And because we strive to be the most trusted source of information on transportation, we have to work really hard to achieve it by employing a combination of what we call owned media and leveraged media. And I'm going to talk about what each of those means and how they work together. Before I do that, storytelling is really, really important. Our key to success in many cases is that we work really hard to tell stories. I referred to my team as reporters earlier. It's exactly what they are. They're mining information from within the department. They're working with their colleagues in other offices and divisions to make sure that we're gathering that information. It's very much like the work of a beat reporter. And what we find is that people really respond well to a narrative to get the full story behind what we do as a department, how we do it, and who we work with to get the job done. The stories that we tell are about people and projects from within the department. We like to remind people that this is a department full of people who are doing great work. And it's also about the projects that we're building and maintaining out there, of course. But then we also tell stories about the people that we work with in service to Georgia. Like, you'll remember the story of J.C. Thomas there in the center. J.C. was the young lady whose car crash involving a train changed her life forever several years ago. And you'll remember that J.C. often joins us at our Safe Driving Summits, and she has made such an impression on thousands of young people at those summits. Her story is so inspiring. So, as we've noted, people are inundated with information, and they have short attention spans, obviously, but they also like to hear stories. And we tell the stories in ways that catch our audience's attention and then hold on to it. People don't always expect that from a government agency. And so it's nice to be able to still, in this era, work with a little bit of an element of surprise, to be able to go and tell an in-depth story in the way that we do. And this is one of the ways that we cut through the clutter and build a meaningful and lasting relationship with the people that we serve all across Georgia. So let's talk about our owned communications channels. Now, these are, this network of channels is really the channels that we have at our disposal because we created them and we manage all the content. This is where we want to bring people. We want people to come to our communications network where we are curating the information that goes out there. And there's a number of elements that are part of this network. First is social media. That won't be a surprise to anyone. 15 years or so ago, there was no such thing as social media. It was very rudimentary in those days. And now it absolutely dominates our communications landscape, as you can imagine. We'll talk more about that. Our website is probably the single most important owned communications tool. It's available 24/7, 365, and it's this vast repository of information. So very important as a part of our owned communications network. We produce many publications, everything from the Milepost magazine to the annual accountability and investment report that we put together in conjunction with the Office of Performance Management and Research and every other office and division within GDOT. It's a beast, but it's a real labor of love, and many other publications as well. Our podcast, Ahead of the Curve, is the newest means of getting the stories that we tell. It's a long-form, obviously, podcast, and we style it in a manner of what maybe like an NPR radio show. But this is a really, really important tool for us. And then our blog. It's like the little blog that could. We get thousands of readers for every blog article, and we didn't have great expectations when we launched our blog some years ago, but it really has become a great resource for people for information. Now, all these channels work together and cross-promote the others. So it creates a larger cohesive network of information from GDOT to our customers. I'm going to touch briefly on each one of these channels here. So social media, I mentioned it dominates our landscape, and it truly does. As you can see, we manage 30 social media channels. All of the districts have their own social media channels, so the information that goes out from the districts is all localized to that district. And then we have channels that we manage here at the GO. And the impressions highlight the number of times our content was displayed across social media. Last year, we had over 25 million impressions on social media channels. It's astounding to me. During the same time period, our content on social media earned over 900,000 engagements. That's the number of times that users interacted with our posts in some way. We have more than 250,000 followers, believe it or not, and across all of our social media channels. So that represents growth of almost 19% year over year. And I think that's really phenomenal in a medium that a lot of people see as sort of reaching maturity in terms of numbers of fans and followers. The videos that we post on YouTube, videos have become just a really important part of our storytelling procedure. And the videos that we post on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and X, Twitter, were viewed more than 2 million times over the course of the past year. So really some impressive numbers that I'm so proud of. Now, it's important to note that social media has become a really key customer service tool. We received over 27,000 direct messages on our social media channels last year, as you can imagine. So it creates this tremendous load that we have to respond to, right? We have to get back to the constituent who's reporting an issue or expressing a concern. We have to be responsive to that, and we are. That's all the people that have, that's a dialogue that our constituents have with this organization, and I think that's so important. And knowing that they can get a substantive response, whether it's through social media or whether it's through the Contact Us page on the website, the system that we refer to as Remedy, that's very, very important because we strive to be responsive at all times. And we often create and tailor content for our social media channels based on what our users are requesting. So we're responding in that way too. And it's important to note too here as we talk about social media that traditional media like TV and broadcast and print, they also follow our social media channels. So this is another way that we can generate a good relationship with the traditional media. So I mentioned the publications. We produce a number over the course of the year, the ones you're familiar with, and then we work with offices and divisions to create publications specific to the work that they're accomplishing too. All carry the GDOT brand, as you can imagine, all very important. Our website is important. I mentioned sharing the information about GDOT. The board will recall a couple of years ago, I believe it was in August of 2022, when Ron Battle from my team stood up and walked you through the new website that we launched at that time. It's been really successful in helping get information out, and it's available, again, the information is available to one and all 24/7. And important to note that the website is also fully functional on mobile devices. More people access GDOT's website now on mobile devices than they do on traditional computers, laptops or desktops, if you can imagine. And for those of us that spend a lot of the day scrolling our phones for information, that's probably easy to believe. So that was a very important feature of the new website. The blog I mentioned, again, a great storytelling tool. We posted dozens of stories about GDOT's people and programs, and then we pushed those stories out through our social media channels. So this is one way that all of our channels sort of cross-promote the others, really important. And then finally, the podcast that we launched, about a year and a half ago. We're having a great time with that. Natalie Dale is our very capable host. You all know Natalie and how well she represents the department. We've really enjoyed talking with people from both inside GDOT about all things transportation, but also all things transportation from representatives outside of GDOT. Also reflects, the great relationships we have with local communities and other transportation entities. And these have developed, all these channels together have developed into really key owned channels of communications, yes, but we've also found that our employees are coming in great numbers to these channels to get information, insider information about the department. So that's not something that we built these for, but boy, what a great tool for internal communications to share a lot of the information that they might not have had access to otherwise. It's an unexpected benefit, but we're pleased that our own employees are using and enjoying this content. We hear from them. So one of the things we work really hard to do is to produce news you can use, as we refer to it. So these are news-style updates. And the reason why this is important is this is a format that people are accustomed to getting their information in, right? TV news stories of 1.5 to 2 minutes in most cases that cover all kinds of topics on traditional broadcast channels. So we're creating content that mimics the look and feel of those news stories. And I'll tell you, that content has to be on brand. And so I wanted to point out here, you'll note that when we have spokespeople that are creating these videos for us, such as Kyle Collins and Natalie here, we pay attention to these details. This is a mic flag, and you see this in traditional, I wish I brought one. I just love holding it. I feel like a reporter. On TV news stations, they have the station logo on what's called a mic flag. So we did the same thing for GDOT. And it's not only a good branding tool because you can see the GDOT logo or the GDOT circle widget, we call it the focus icon, but it's a great reminder that the people behind the scenes in GDOT that are bringing you this information are also trusted, credible people, reporters, if you will. And I want to show you an example of some of this news style content. This was a recent winter storm. It was actually a couple of winters ago. But I think it's such a great example of this news you can use format. Let's take a look.
Department of Transportation, and we want you to know the 3 things that you should be aware of about
Brian, can you cut up the volume?
Winter weather storm. So number 1, what's happening? Right now there is a storm approaching Georgia that will hit us sometime around Saturday and in through the rest of the weekend. What it's going to bring yet, still to be determined, a lot of question marks there. So in several areas it might be freezing rain, it might just be rain, it could be snow, but we do expect a substantial icing event east of 75 and north of 20. So if you're in that area, listen up. Number 2, what should you do? You should be preparing now to hunker down, stay at home if you can. And when we're talking about an icing event, if you can is really you should. So make sure you've got your milk and your bread. Make sure you've got gas in your car and a car-ready kit in case you do need to leave the house. So number 3, you know what you're doing. What are we doing? Here at Georgia Department of Transportation, we are constantly looking at ways to evolve and perfect our winter weather treatment plans. So we look as each storm comes in because each storm is very different, which means our treatment and how we respond to that storm system has to be specifically tailored for that storm, not the storm we had last year or not the storm the year before. So we've been watching this storm come through. We've been working with the National Weather Service and our partners at GEMA to see how we'll use our plan to address this specific storm system. That's going to require brine routes run throughout Friday through Friday night, and our crews on solid shifts beginning Saturday with plow teams through the end of the storm. So the best thing you can do is stay off the roads as we implement that plan. So you know, number 1, what's coming? A winter weather storm. Number 2, what should you be doing? Get prepared, get ready, your home and your car. And number 3, what is GDOT doing? We are always working for you. So right now we are working to address and tailor our plan to meet this storm system as it enters Georgia. I'm Natalie Dale with the Georgia Department of Transportation.
Segments of that piece were actually picked up and aired on some of the local TV news stations, as you can imagine, as that winter storm approached. And this is somebody I trust, right? I mean, not just me, but the people of Georgia. Natalie's a very familiar, recognizable face, and the way she delivers this information is so credibly done. How can you not trust? One thing I wanted to point out, too, the little GDOT logo animation at the end. In case you didn't already know that this was a GDOT-produced piece, we like to put that little icing on that cupcake there. And it just reflects, I think, an agency that has something to do with all modes of transportation. It just kind of leaves you feeling good at the end, right, with that musical bit. So a key branding tool, I'll add that. So let's talk about our leveraged communications channels for just a second. These are channels that we don't own. I have referred to them so far. And most of these are traditional media. So your TV, radio, newspaper. It's a changing and evolving world with media. As we all know, a lot of newspapers no longer publish a print edition or no longer publish, period. The ones that are still producing and publishing are very important to us, as you can imagine. These are key parts of our overall communication strategy, and our traditional media partners remain very, very important to us. So in our shop, PR doesn't stand for public relations, stands for personal relationships, and that's what we work really hard to build with the reporters and journalists who cover us. And they often pay dividends for the agency in many ways. We want that to be a mutually beneficial relationship. So we focus on working with our partners to pitch story ideas and concepts that might not ever see the light of day. And the good old press release, you see an example there in the lower right, that still works. That's why we still use them in conjunction with everything else. And again, as I mentioned, media also follow our social media channels. So we generate news coverage oftentimes based around a lot of the information that we're putting on social media. So it's a symbiotic relationship between our owned channels and our leveraged channels, and really important. Reporters, as you all know, they seek us out. They're looking for information, and we respond. And we always seek to be timely. Obviously, we want to be accurate and certainly as helpful as we can be. You see a few of our district communications officers here, such competent professionals. They're always on call. They do their job so well. Just really an impressive group of folks. And, you know, oftentimes when we have an emergency scenario, a road washes out, we recognize that in the scope of things, that's isolated to a small area, but that can affect thousands of people, right? So thousands upon thousands. So we have to move really quickly to get information out about road closures and detours, and typically it's the DCOs that lead the charge on that with any assistance they might need from my office here in Atlanta. So very important part of what we do. Now, I want to show you this example of a relatively recent news story. This one was filed by Jerry Carnes of 11 Alive here in Atlanta. And as you'll see, the story is about the project to replace the bridge on North Druid Hills, which, as we know, is going on now. But this story actually aired last fall. And let's just go ahead and watch, and we'll talk a little bit more about it on the other side.
Road work could impact your travels along North Druid Hills Road this morning. You may have noticed the occasional lane closed over the last few weeks. Major changes are coming to North Druid Hills Road right near I-85, and the work going on now, it is just the beginning. 11 Alive's Jerry Carnes here this morning to get drivers ready for the changes and the disruptions, Jerry.
Good morning, Aisha. If you travel in the area of North Druid Hills Road near I-85 and Buford Highway, you know the challenges. Congestion is only going to grow with the opening of a new hospital and other medical facilities still to come. Improvements to help your commuter coming too, but to get there, commuters are going to face some inconvenience.
It begins with small disruptions. On this day, a turn lane from North Druid Hills Road to I-85 is partially blocked. It is but a glimpse into the major changes coming to this popular stretch of asphalt.
And I remember when it was just 2 lanes, watched it sort of grow and develop.
John Carter moved to Metro Atlanta in the 1970s and began a daily commute that took him across this bridge on North Druid Hills Road that was only 10 years old at the time.
I remember the bridge getting bigger and then they making the bridge larger and then making the bridge larger again. I think this is the 3rd or 4th time they've done that.
The old bridge over North Peachtree Creek is about to go into retirement. The roadways here are stressed due to growth that includes the new Children's Healthcare of Atlanta complex and the early stages of Emory's Executive Park complex.
You have not only the day-to-day congestion, but the congestion that will come with the growth of these healthcare facilities.
New ramps are coming, along with a new bridge over I-85 that will make accessing the interstate from North Druid Hills Road much easier. But first, GDOT crews will have to deal with that old bridge. Work is underway to move utility poles along North Druid Hills. That's going to take until the end of the year. Early next year, the bridge will close for 90 days. Commuters used to traveling North Druid Hills to get between I-85 and Buford Highway will have to take a different route.
The benefit of a full closure means it takes a shorter amount of time to do, which is a benefit not only in time but in money.
Commuters like John Carter have been told to prepare.
We know that it's coming, so we're sort of anticipating it.
For now, he deals with the congestion and the minor disruptions that are part of this area's growing pains.
It is still several months away, but we want to give you plenty of warning. GDOT is offering a detour during the 90 days crews will be working on the North Druid Hills Bridge. That detour will direct traffic to use Claremont Road instead of North Druid Hills to get from one side of I-85 to the other. That's going to take drivers about 5 miles out of the way. We've got a link with all the information you'll need on our website, 11alive.com.
So this is what you want. You want reporters who are willing to take the extra time that's required to tell a more in-depth story, tell a story about not just the what or the when, but also the why and the how. That's a big part of this overall storytelling approach. And so we're grateful for reporters like Jerry and so many others who value their relationship with us as much as we value our relationship with them, and we work hard to maintain it. So I just wanted to touch on briefly a few other areas that communications touches. Back in 2020, we in communications worked with the Office of Environmental Services and IT and many others as part of a task force to develop GDOT's current virtual public involvement platform. And it's hard to believe there was a time not that long ago when our customers had no other option but to attend an in-person PIOH or PHOH. I credit the commissioner for challenging this task force a number of years ago to come up with a virtual alternative to the traditional public meeting. And that's why we were so ready in March of 2020 to get moving to launch a virtual platform. I think it was May 1st of 2020 that we had our first virtual PIOH up. And to me, this is the very picture of a modern, streamlined organization in service to the public. I can access this meeting information and leave a comment from the comfort of my own home or wherever I happen to be. So an important part of our overall public outreach. And from a brand standpoint, from the POV of providing the best possible customer service, we're really proud of this platform and how it serves the department. So good old Drive Alert, Arrive Alive. We launched this campaign back in 2015. It's hard to believe it's almost a decade ago, and it has served as the basis for so many other offshoots. It was really our first meaningful foray in communications into safety advocacy. And advocacy is a big part of what we're doing on the safety front, and you're well aware of some of these programs and campaigns. The first of which is the Keep Georgia Safe kindergarten through 12th grade classroom curriculum that Katina Lear and Sam Harris presented to you back in April. This program has been so incredibly well received. The commissioner was able to present some information at the AASHTO Board of Directors meeting recently, and we've had so much outreach from other states who want more information about this program and how it works. So we've had the opportunity to speak to our counterparts in a number of other states. Very proud of it. And you'll recall that Keep Georgia Safe includes a series of safety videos starring an actual fifth grade teacher, Thomas Bussey, here in Georgia. You saw an example of one of those videos in April. And I'm proud to tell you that because of a pre-existing relationship we have with the Georgia Association of Broadcasters. Now, that's a 500-member association of radio and TV all across the state of Georgia. We're going to be airing a 30-second version of that seatbelt safety video on local TV affiliates and radio affiliates at the beginning of this coming school year, this academic school year. So not only does it remind families about the importance of buckling up while they're watching TV in their homes, it also promotes the classroom curriculum. So really great news there.
When you get in the car, I hope it's that you buckle up. I'm Thomas Bussey, a fifth grade teacher in Georgia. Buckling up is the single most important thing you can do to protect yourself in a crash. Your seatbelt is your best friend. Like peanut butter and jelly, socks and shoes, macaroni and cheese, seatbelts and car safety just go together.
Message from the Georgia DOT, proud sponsor of Keep Georgia Safe.
And that's that 30-second PSA. And, you know, that's also going to impact how we're perceived in the safety advocacy space, not just a transportation agency, but one that actually cares, right, about the Georgia safety on the roads. You're obviously well aware of the Safe Driving Summits. Communications has a role to play there, too. We're proud to work with Sam and Kelly and the others on the safety office on Safe Driving Summits. You've heard so much about these in the commissioner's updates and reports, and we're excited to collectively bring this program back to Georgia teens for a third year starting this fall. Impact's been tremendous. You've heard the numbers. You've seen the data. Many thousands of Georgia young people have been affected by attending a summit, and my office produces a lot of the content that we create to help promote what we're doing in this space about the Safe Driving Summit. So thanks to Mr. Golden and Ms. Lemon and so many others for the work that you've done to open doors for the summits, but also appearing in some of that wonderful job. And I think it really underscores the importance the department places on that. A few years ago, we launched an anti-litter campaign called Keep It Clean Georgia, and it began as a social and print media effort in partnership with the Department of Economic Development. You remember we focused on pop culture phrases and clever taglines based on popular songs and movies by Georgia artists, but the theme and branding soon expanded to GDOT's existing relationship focused on roadside cleanup. So now you see Keep It Clean, sponsored Keep It Clean Georgia signs along the side of the roadway. So again, a great optic for an agency that really cares about Georgia and Georgians. And then finally, Strategic Communications worked with GDOT HR and the Georgia Grace Commission, and GRACE stands for Georgians for Refuge, Action, Compassion, and Education, to create GDOT's human trafficking awareness campaign called Speak Up. The Grace Commission, as a reminder, it's also a focus of our First Family, and in particular, First Lady Kemp. Very important to the Kemps that we're working alongside the Grace Commission and other Georgia agencies and government entities to help promote anti-human trafficking. So much human trafficking is happening in plain sight on our transportation network, and yet people don't understand or know the signs. So Speak Up is an effort to alert average people to the signs of human trafficking and take action to report it if they believe it's happening. And then in closing, I just want to make the point that oftentimes my office receives accolades and recognition, and we're very happy that we do. But we could not do the work that we do so effectively if it weren't for the fine, incredible work that's being done by our colleagues out there. And again, we're the ones who get to tell those stories. So it's a gratifying job to do, and we're pleased to do it. And then one final thing in closing, I just wanted to mention that the Office of Strategic Communications will be hosting what's called the TRANSCOM annual meeting. And TRANSCOM is AASHTO's Standing Committee on Transportation Communications. That's a mouthful, so we call it TRANSCOM. So in September, we'll be hosting our colleagues from all 50 states here in downtown Atlanta. So we'll get to showcase the fine work that not just the Office of Communications is doing, but also the entire department. So we're really looking forward to showing off in that way. So, and with that, that's the end of my remarks. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do I have anyone that has a question or would like to make a comment? With seeing none, I want to make a comment and say thank you for our communication team. They're outstanding. They're always available to every one of us, whether it be just a citizen out on the street and or anyone involved with GDOT. But they're there, and the communication that we do through our safety projects, through the projects with the media and our partnerships that we have, surely and truly is a very positive thing for the Department of Transportation. And our team makes that possible with the communication and the openness that we have and the different opportunities that are out there for the public to get that information through. So I want to say thank you, not only from our board, but from the public for the comments that we get back with the positive input that our group has.
Thank you so much. That's
So-
so wonderful of you to say, and I share that with the communications folks here in the room and all across the state. I agree with you. They do incredible work, and I'm proud to be able to represent them today.
Well, I'm excited too to have the update today because there's so many projects that we've heard about today that many of us may not have known about, but they're out there, and the communication key worked with Kyle and Natalie a lot. Appreciate them, and I also work with my district office with our PR groups there. And again, you said it's not public relations, but it's personal relationship, and that is fantastic. So again, I want to say thank you very much. And if there's no other comments, our committee as a whole is adjourned now to 1 p.m. Thank you.